Hi guys, it's Rachel. It's been a minute. I'm here to bitch. As always, it's bitches in the room. I'm at home, looking homely. Actually, I met my boyfriend in his mother's home, looking homely. More on that to come. Eating awesome salmon that he made. But today, I'd like to talk about bitches in business. I said that there was going to be bitches in business. And, you know, I feel that there's a lot of disparities between women and business. That's where there's women in business magazines and, you know, they make a big, not make a big deal. It's a big deal that there's the first women billionaire that came into our own, happened like in 2014 and stuff like that. There are major freaking obstacles. I'm eating. Get over it. And here are my contentions and my phone. Bitches in business, financial literacy. Micro advice is not good for black women in business or women in business in general, but as a black woman, I know from experience that when I was first starting out IBBC, I was looking at every black enterprise magazine I could find, every black business advice, every black business advice, every Business Insider, little magazines and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, their advice is not on deaf ears, but a lot of the time it's targeted towards men. A lot of the times it's targeted towards white people. Meaning people who already have the financial means, who, already get paid more than a black woman would, that can have the startup capital to just, for example, which I'll get to it, just start saving with your job. Now, I'm not being accusatory, but what if you want to start a business and you work at McDonald's? You gotta be realistic on both sides. You can't just discourage somebody and says, oh, well, shit, you work at McDonald's, so it looks like it's not going to be realistic for you to start a business. It's bullshit. People have done it. And this is where a mentor comes in, or, somebody in your community that goes through it. Oh, that salmon was so good. Dip it in barbecue sauce. Oh, but yeah, micro advice is not good for black women. We have a different, unique perspective. Those grants and stuff like that, they just apply for grants. I was one of those people just say, just apply for grants. I don't know if I still have that up on IBBC's, YouTube, but yeah, it would just be like, just apply for grants. You totally should still apply for grants. Don't beat the fuck out of yourself if you don't get it. A lot of the time, people are racist, and a lot of the time it's really, even in this day and age, it's probability and luck of the draw if you get selected for the grant anyway. That's just realness. Yeah, not good for black women. But what is good is there's a book by a black woman called FNPhenomenal, and she gets you onto the road of financial literacy. It's a little pamphlet, and it's on Amazon. I'll put the link down below. It's a little pamphlet. It's on Amazon, and what she does, is she'll, you write what you're spending and how you're saving, and gives you little pointers and stuff like that, like realistic pointers. It's not like, oh, well, you know what, we're gonna go from organic quinoa to like regular quinoa that you buy at Whole Foods. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by macro advice doesn't work. It's very inconsiderate of people's situation, and it's very it's very exclusive. So she, encourages all black girls to go for what they want to do. All black women, all women to do what they want to do. And she had us in mind when she wrote it. So, yes. Financial literacy, a big problem that I find with women in financial literacy is that we spend our money on different things and we don't consider what you know, people outside of our community might be thinking. We just consider like, okay, I would buy this, so I will charge this. I would pay this much for it, what I would charge him. One of the most effective things that we can do, and like keeps me from fucking, you know, killing somebody, one of the most effective things that you can do is go, what is my cost of living in my area? I see people, especially in burlesque, undercharge, and I see people overcharge because it's obvious to any and this is for sponsorships and stuff like that too. You need to have a gauge of your audience. If you don't have a gauge of your audience, then your sponsor needs to know that you have a gauge of your audience. Your sponsor shouldn't have a better gauge of your audience than you do. Who is your audience? Don't just say everybody. Who is your audience? Okay? If you don't have an audience and you haven't had and you don't always have to invest capital to prove to find your audience. A lot of people need to learn how to invest and say, okay, I'm having this free show, or I'm giving out this free product, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and this is who responded. That is one of the most effective way to find your audiences. But, like, for example, I can only speak from my experience, but when I started off from IBBC, and we had these shows, okay, the youngest people that were, you know, that came to my audience were 18. We would say that, you know, spitballing here because I have it written down somewhere, but I'll say about 15% was 18. Okay, the rest, like for real, were 25 and up. So if, you know, Absolute Vodka, I'm approaching Absolute Vodka for a sponsorship, and they say, what is your audience? I will say 25 to 50, 25 to 60, based on, for the 3 years that I've been in business, how many, you know, what demographic has come to my show, because it's diverse. It's literally really diverse. But anywho, that's getting off subject. But financial literacy, people just think that, okay, I could get sponsors because people come in the door. Not so. What it is they want to see that you can be successful as a business. And if you're overcharging or undercharging, even undercharging, yes, because in theory, you think that, oh, if I charge lower, more people will come. Not always. And depending on what brands you associate yourself with, certain brands won't want to associate themselves with a cheap show. So you get the balance and figure out one of the most important things that you can do is figure out the cost of living in your show. And if you figure out the cost of living, or like, for example, with Noir Night, if I could continue to charge a certain price that says that there's a certain value on my show, now I can start adding a value. But for the first 3 to 5 years, you don't have a value. Your show, nothing. You got to deal with the fact that your show doesn't have a value. You can't be profit driven. You're not going to get a profit in the first 3 to 5 years. That's why it's a risk, you know? And that gets me to, yeah, and like I said, the service, just keep in mind, learn the cost of living. If the cost of living, and it's even different within the area. For example, where I used to live on West Chicago, cost of living is like $300 a month. Rent is $300 a month. It's very low cost of living. This is the poorest of the poor. And that's another thing. You can't just target to the rich people, because rich people don't like getting swindled either. So if you're overcharging rich people thinking that, oh, they have the money, they'll spend it, they will not. That's how they stay rich. But what I was saying is, the cost of living, you need to know the lowest cost of living and the highest cost of living. One of the best ways to find that is how much rent costs. Okay, everybody knows what their downtown, or should know, or has an idea, or should have an idea, what the cost of living is to live downtown anywhere, in any city that you are. It's usually more expensive, it's usually more swanky, and it's usually where all the stuff happens. But you also need to know the poorest part, because if I'm having a show that I want everybody to attend, which sponsors want people, I can't stress it enough, that know what their audiences are and have a diverse audience, that if I want a show that everybody can attend, I need to know what the lowest cost of living is. So if I'm charging $50 and, for example, if I'm charging $50 and the poorest of the poor can't pay to be a part of my show, and only the richest are the richest, the sponsor's going to say, well, you know how we love to say that there's the 1%. They're like, well, my product is only going to get out to 1% of people, so it makes the probability low. Bad sales. So, yeah, just find the cost of living by looking for houses in that area. You don't even have to you look at housing, look at apartments. Look at where the poorest of the poor lives in the poorest of the poor areas and the richest of the rich. So meaning, in Detroit specifically, look at how much people pay for apartments and look at how much people pay for houses in the poor areas. And look at how much people, and like for downtown Detroit, look at how much people spend in basic apartments, which is probably like $700 or $750, give or take, with utilities. And how much people are spending on the lofts. You know what I mean? And then you will get a good gauge of how much money people have to spend. But getting to the next point, get over, like I said, get over it. Debt and loss are a part of the process. This is what you signed up for when you decided to be a business owner. I am poor. I lived with my dad, and we'll get into that with family and shit later. But I lived with my dad. I'm bouncing from place to place. Debt and loss are a part of the experience, and people are going to sit here and tell you that you're stupid. People are going to sit here and tell you that you don't got your shit together, and you need to hold fast, bro. Hold fast. Sacrifice whatever you have to, or whatever you can. When I say those macro advice columns and stuff on black enterprises and stuff like that, they usually come from people of privilege. They usually come from people who already have been in the corporate ladder, and they can spare $500 a month, or $1,000, or $2,000, or $20,000, or they have good enough credit to get a loan. You know what I mean? Don't sacrifice what you can't sacrifice. I love eating, and I still fuck it. Like, you need your luxuries. You like that idea of the fact that we just struggle and I pay off all my debts and da 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 da. Especially for black women, with how little we get paid and how much we have been educated and how much school debt we have and stuff like that. Debt is a part of the process. You might even die with debt, and get over it. That's okay. That's how capitalism works. It's just just the world we're living in right now. But don't be discouraged. Don't be scared. Don't run away from the stigma of debt, because you know who else died poor? Zora Neale Hurston. So fuck the haters on that one. And lastly, you can start from anywhere. There's a lot of videos, a lot of people who criticize, like, even my videos with little bars on the side and stuff like that. Right now, I don't have a 1080p camera. I don't have what I need to have to get forward. But, I'll say this. Businessmen and women don't give a fuck about the presentation so much. They can throw money at that. You just got to know how to speak the goddamn language. Eventually, you will get a camera. I don't know when it will be. Eventually, I will get a camera. I don't know when it'll be. But consistency and putting it out there and confidence and guts is all that really matters. So financially, whatever you have, if you have your phone, if you have your computer, if you have it, just get your voice out there. And if anybody is sitting here criticizing your shit, you make sure that you let them know the bitch is in the room. And unless they paying for a new camera, unless they paying for a graphic designer, unless they're paying anything on your business bills, then they need to shut the fuck up. Bye-bye.